Hi, in this video, I'm going to explain how the heist is going to work in the upcoming junior math relays. So here in a little bit, when you're watching this video, you should have access to your Proctor folder. Your Proctor folder will contain three things that are unique to you. So first is the scorecard, the logic board for one of the games that the students are going to use to collaborate, in your Proctor logistics. To start off with, we are going to open up these three things. And so I'm going to start with the logistics document. So this logistics document is going to have everything you need it to prepare what to do when you start the games, when the students enter, what you should do when the game ends, and if you need any hints. And I'll go into that into a little bit more detail, but first I want to show off the other two documents you have in your folder. This is the Jamboard that your students may use to collaborate on one of the games. They don't have to use this Jamboard, but I would suggest to them that they use it. They can collaborate together, see what everybody's working on. Some of your students may use just pencil and paper, and that's okay as well. Technically, you don't have to do anything with the Jamboard. You don't even need to necessarily see it, but it might be good to keep track of what students are doing. And if they have issues or questions, you'd be able to access it and see. Next is the scorecard. And the scorecard here, one, it's very important that you do not show this to students. So there's only one portion that you'll be kind of sharing your screen. And it's very important that you do not share your screen while you have the scorecard up, okay? Because it has the direct answers on it. And the scorecard is kind of broken up by the games. So we have, we have technically three games here. We have creating a team, exploring the museum, cracking the safe. And then we have the final test, which is a synthesis of all three of those things, just picking out answers from all three of these things. So as they're going through the games, they may give you an answer. They may say something like, Aaron's workday is Friday, okay? And so we look and we see that Aaron's workday is in fact Friday, and so we would mark this with a lowercase x. We'd hit enter, and it'll turn green, okay? If it doesn't turn green, if you mark it with an uppercase X, it'll turn green then as well. But if you did something else like I or something else, it's not going to turn green. I would stick with X's, so you can have that nice red or green, coding in there. So you have the answers that are directly here. If they get it wrong, though, what you would do is you would mark an X down for incorrect guesses. And if they fill in all of the boxes with incorrect guesses, you can then stop, marking incorrect guesses. I would, suggest to them, if they start trying to rush through things and they start getting things wrong, tell them to slow down, reconsider answers, make sure that they're talking together. We use this more as like a tiebreaker, so they don't want to make incorrect guesses if possible. So this is your scorecard. This is where you kind of control everything. This is where you'll spend most of your time throughout the day when you're working with the students, just kind of messing with the scorecard, checking their answers. Okay. Now the logistics document. So you have access to a couple things that aren't in your folder through this document. The first will be a solutions document. By the time you watch this video, this will be an annotated solutions document that will contain all the solutions. It will also contain hints, and I'll talk about hints here in a sec. And you will have the game script. Okay. So your job, kind of start off with, starting the game is pretty simple. What you'll do to kind of start the game, your students will all come into your room. You can kind of introduce yourself, and your students may introduce yourselves. And what you're going to do is you're going to read this game script to them. And what I would suggest you do is share your screen when you have the game script up, read through the script with the screen shared, and then stop sharing the screen. Honestly, I wouldn't even have the Heist scorecard up as a tab just so you don't accidentally click on it. I would only be sharing the game script, and you'll read straight through the script. If they have any questions, they can answer these questions, and this is all before time even starts. So after you read through the script and time, you're done with questions, you'll stop sharing your screen. And then you will, first need to have like a Google Watch or a, some sort of timer up for 80 minutes. I do have a link for a Google timer for 80 minutes that once you click on the link, it will start. And then what you'll do is you will share them this link. This is how they will navigate the Great Heist. Okay, so they need this link. So I'd share this link first and then start your timer. Just to make it, but please share the link first and then start the timer. And then students will go through the game, and you can see they have access to a scorecard as well. And it's the same, it's connected to the same scorecard. So if I mark one of these as X, and I go back, and you can see they can only see, a small portion of this. That's why you don't want to share the scorecard. They can see. If they're not able to, it doesn't automatically update. There will be a reload button here that they can reload. And they'll be able to see kind of the green mark where they've gotten. Now, going into, before I go into the games, I do want to finish the Proctor logistics. So they go through the games, they give you the answers, right or wrong. You kind of go through, and then a couple things will happen. Either they finish all these, so they get everything right, and there is still time left. In which case, what I would do is mark the time left down here. So for instance, you'll see down here, it says 10 minutes left at 3:30 p.m. Okay. This is a good way of marking it. So telling me how many minutes is left plus what time it was can be useful for us. If they run out of time, you will tell them that their time is finished. You will thank them. You'll stop the game and you'll move on. Okay. And then you could either leave this blank, or you can put 0 minutes left at whatever time. If the students get stuck, so you don't want to give them hints to kind of push them, to give them an unfair advantage, but you don't want them to be stuck so long. They can ask for hints. We don't keep track if they take hints or not. Okay. There are hints inside the solutions document, but also, if you're not comfortable giving hints, or you don't want to kind of push them too much, or maybe the game that they're asking is just you're pretty rusty on your math. What you can do is you can hit the call for help button in Zoom itself. This will send me a notification. I'll be in the room kind of above you in your breakout room, and then I can just jump into your room and give them some help. If there's any issues at all, you can always do the call your help, and I'll be right down there. The other option is you can send one student to leave the Zoom room and go back to the main room to get me if for some reason I don't see that notification, but I will be I'll be there diligently paying attention. So that kind of settles the Proctor document. Now let's look at the actual game itself, the Great Heist. So students will be, the idea is they are pulling off a museum heist. This is all above board. The museum is hiring them to do this, so that they're doing a little bit of security work. So the first thing they're going to do is create their team. They don't have to necessarily go in this order. They could go in whatever order they want. They could have one person work on one game while others go on other games. It's kind of up to them how they collaboratively work. And as I mentioned before, they can use the Jamboard to collaborate, and you can see what's on that Jamboard. But this first puzzle is just a straight logic puzzle that you would do in elementary, middle school. At least I would. Where they're figuring things out through these statements and trying to mark. Okay, when does Aaron work, and what's his specialty? When does Amara work? What's her specialty? Things like that. So they'll give you answers. I would tell them that they do get a point for each right answer, including it's broken down by workday and specialty, right? So they get a point for knowing that Aaron works on Friday. And there may be teams that aren't able to figure out some of these, in which case, it's very important that they do tell you their partial points. The next game is much more math-based. With geometry, they will need to be careful and read the directions, because in the directions is some of the geometric configurations that are not in this diagram. It should also be noted that these diagrams are not at scale at all, okay? They are labeled correctly, but they're not at scale. So students will need to read through, for instance, in the first one, in order to know that this is a perfect square, or what the side is, you have to read that this is a perfect square. So this would be 10 meters, in which case you can tell that this is not, it's not up to scale, but it will work. And so what they're doing is two things. So for instance, on this first one, they're asked to calculate the area of this floor plan. So calculating the area of the square, adding it to the triangle, adding it to this rectangle. And this includes the stairs portion of this. Okay, so the area of this would be 5 by 3, which is 15. They have to add all these triangles and things up, and they'll get the total area of this this shape. The next thing they're going to do is figure out the perimeter of this line. So the idea is they're going to use this line to break in. This is where all the cameras are conveniently not be able to see. And so they calculate this perimeter, they add it to this line segment and this line segment. And they'll give you a number. And so if we look at our scorecard, we see that there's area plan 1. They should use a calculator for this first one. And if they don't have the calculator with them, which most of them will, they can always use like a Google calculator. Line segment, number 2, this is the first line segment, which is 36 meters. And students don't need to necessarily get the, I would ask them for the meters, what is the tag, just so they get in the habit. But I wouldn't mark it incorrect if they told me, 36. I would say, oh, 36 what? And that's where you get your meters. And then the final game. So all these are just geometric. And then up here, and I do have annotated solutions, so you don't have to worry about being able to do this yourself. I do have solutions that you'll be able to look at. Then cracking the safe. I do apologize. Right now, we can't see it in action, but it will be working before Saturday. So the cool thing about this is they'll actually be able to check their answers on all these before they actually tell you. At least that's the idea. If I can't get the safe to work, then they won't be able to do that, but I'm pretty confident I can get it working again. Because how it's supposed to work, for instance, they can try 1, 1, 1. And what's supposed to happen is they hit check. This will turn green, and then they can hit the handle, and this will swing open. Really cool when it's in action, not so cool when it's not in action. And so they can kind of check their combos. This is it's not a difficult game, but it is a little bit more conceptually hard for students to somewhat jump into. Okay, so this one, it's very important that you do understand how it works and how to go from step 1 to step 2. It may not hurt to actually go through one of these, offer to go through the first example with them, just to kind of help them go through it. But how this works is they're going to get the combo from the order of operations. So, we have this this equation, this math statement here that we're going to simplify, and we're going to do it piece by piece. So we're going to do one simplification step at once, and only one step at once, in order to get the combo. Okay, so if we look at this first one, and this is where please excuse my dear Aunt Sally comes in, and students really need to understand kind of how it works. And so the first thing we're looking for is parentheses. There'll never be brackets, but they're all, there might be parentheses. So you'll do everything in the parentheses first, which in this case just means doing 1 plus 2, which simplifies to 3. So this will turn into 3, in which case our first number is 3. Now, if we look at this in our heads, you can keep track. This is 6 divided by 2 times 3. And so now we do the next step, which in this case is going to be 6 divided by 2. Remember that with multiplication and division, you do both, you do those left to right. They're on the same level. And so we're going to do 6 divided by 2 first, which simplifies down to 3. Then we're left with 3 times 3, which will then simplify down to 9, which gives us a 3-number combo. I do have hints on here that shows how many simplification steps there are. There are extra hints in the annotation guide as well. I would work through these, make sure that you're convinced that the answer is right, and you can figure out the combo as well. Students typically have a harder time on these, especially these last two can be a little bit difficult. In this number 5, just let me explain a little bit, just in case to refresh you. So when we do parentheses first, we're going to do all, we're going to treat this totally separate. In the first step, we'll be doing 20 divided by 4, which is 5. So that 20 divided by 4 will turn into 5, and that'll be our first number. Then our second number will be 5 times 5, which will be 25. And then our third number will be 25 divided by 5, which is 5. So 5, 25, 5 is our first 3 numbers in that combo. Then they would start doing the rest. Okay. Pretty straightforward. And like I said, my hope is that they will be able to check their answers first before asking you on Saturday. Now, finally, the final test is just a synthesis of the other answers. So it's going to ask them some questions. I am going to, this number is going to change a little bit, but it's not going to change much for you. Asking questions like, who is the hacker based off of the Create Your Team? What's the biggest floor plan based on exploring the museum floor? What combo adds up to a number for the cracking the safe? Using the segments calculated, give an estimate on how many meters the team will need to walk. And when doing this last one, I would, one of the hints, or, one of the things I would tell the students and kind of give them a hint is what I'm looking for in this number 4, Explorer Museum, is, they're essentially walking through these floor plans trying to get to, the safe. And so I'm asking them to add up all of the line segments. And so some teams I know may get tripped up where they, you're adding up the line segments, they get to the stairs, for instance, and they may think, well, in order to go down up the stairs, I need to add 3 meters or so. And especially because there is no line segment here, we don't even track anything, so they may add another 3 meters. And then you come up here and add the rest of the segments. Ideally, what we're looking for is just the line segment. So if they give you an answer that's not right, at least on number 4, and I'm going to put this in the Proctor document, so remind you, I'm looking for just the line segment. So they don't need to calculate the stairs or anything like that, just the line segments. And then that is kind of the final game. Like I said, if they get them all right, you will put the amount of time, and then you'll stop. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me before Saturday, or even Saturday morning. I'll be on pretty early if you want to jump on and ask some questions. Be sure to kind of play around, see if look through stuff before Saturday, and if there's anything that pops out, just give me a holler. I look forward to seeing you all Saturday.